The ships came down from the sky on a cold autumn morning. They were beautiful. They looked like giant crystals, shining in the sunlight as they floated through the clouds. People all over the world stopped what they were doing and looked up. Some were scared. Some were excited. Everyone knew that this moment would change everything. The year was 2147. Humans had been alone in the universe for all of their history. Now, for the first time, they were not alone anymore. Park Do-yoon was 32 years old. He was a captain in the United Earth Defense Force. He had trained his whole life to protect Earth from threats. But standing on the landing field that day, watching the crystal ship touch down on the grass, he did not feel like a soldier. He felt like a child seeing magic for the first time. The ship made no sound as it landed. A door opened in its side, and light poured out. Then they appeared. The aliens were tall and thin. Their skin was pale blue, almost silver, and it seemed to glow from inside. They had 2 arms and 2 legs like humans, but their arms had an extra joint. Their faces looked almost human too, but something was different. Their eyes were too large. Their mouths were too small. They were beautiful in a strange and unsettling way. The first alien to step forward wore robes made of flowing light. This was Tessith, their ambassador. Tessith walked toward the human delegation with arms spread wide. When Tessith spoke, the voice was soft and warm, like a parent talking to a child. "We have searched for so long," Tessith said. The alien's eyes filled with glowing tears. "So many dead worlds. So many empty planets. But you survived. You grew. You are our lost siblings, and we have finally found you." Dahan stood next to Dr. Yoon Hana, a scientist who studied life on other planets. She had spent her whole career believing that life existed somewhere else in the universe. Now she was crying too, watching her beliefs become real. "Siblings?" Hana asked. Her voice was shaking. "What do you mean?" Tessa smiled. It was a gentle smile, full of kindness. "Millions of years ago, our ancestors traveled the stars. They planted the seeds of life on many worlds. Your world was one of them. The same genetic code runs through your bodies and ours. We are family." In the months that followed, the Valori, as they called themselves, shared everything. They gave humans technology that could cure any disease. They showed them how to grow food without soil or water. They taught them how to build ships that could travel between stars in days instead of years. The world changed fast. Hunger ended. Sickness ended. War ended too, because there was nothing left to fight over. Humans and Valori worked together, lived together, and celebrated together. Do-hyun rose through the ranks quickly. His calm nature and sharp mind made him valuable. By the end of the first year, he was promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's first fleet. It was a fleet built with Valori help, full of ships faster and stronger than anything humans had made before. On a space station called Harmony 7, far from Earth, a woman named Kang Eunji taught children. She had been a teacher on Earth before the Valori came, and she was still a teacher now. But her classroom was different. Instead of just human children, she now taught Valori children too. Eunji loved her work. She watched human kids and Valori kids play together every day. They shared food. They learned each other's languages. They became friends. Her own daughter, Somi, who was 7 years old, had a best friend named Lirith. Lirith was a young Valori girl who liked to braid Somi's hair with glowing threads. "They really are like us," Eunji said one night to her husband, Kang Taeho. They sat together by the window of their small apartment, looking out at the stars. Same laughs, same fears, same love for their families. Taeho nodded slowly. He was an engineer who kept the station running. He fixed machines and checked systems and made sure everything worked. He was good at his job because he noticed small things that others missed. "Maybe," he said quietly. Yung looked at him. You sound worried. Taiho was quiet for a long moment. The Valori give us so much, he finally said. They ask for nothing in return. Does that not seem strange to you? Yunji laughed softly. They are our siblings. Family does not ask for payment. Maybe, Taiho said again. But he did not smile. Late at night, when his wife and daughter were asleep, Taiho sometimes walked through the station. He told himself he was just checking systems. But really, he was watching. He watched the Valori adults when they did not know anyone was looking. There was something in their eyes when they looked at the human children. Taiho could not name it. It was not love. It was not hate. It was something else. Something that made him feel cold inside. He told himself he was being foolish. The Valori had saved humanity. They had given them the stars. They were friends and family and everything good. But Taiho was an engineer. His job was to find problems before they became disasters. And deep in his gut, in a place where logic could not reach, he felt that something was very, very wrong. He just did not know what it was yet. And by the time he found out, it would almost be too late. 3 years passed since the Valori came to Earth. Humans and Valori lived together on hundreds of worlds and space stations. Children grew up never knowing a time when they were alone in the universe. Everything seemed perfect, but perfect things do not last. Dr. Yoon Hana worked in a research center on the moon. She studied Valori biology, trying to understand how their bodies worked. The Valori were happy to share their medical knowledge, and they gave her access to their databases. She spent long hours reading their files, learning their secrets. One night, she found something she was not supposed to find. It was hidden deep in the system. A single file, marked for deletion, written in a language that was hard to translate. Hannah almost skipped past it. But something made her stop. Something made her open it. The file was called Harvest Protocol. Hannah worked for 3 days and 3 nights to translate it. She did not eat. She did not sleep. Her hands shook as she read what the file contained. When she finished, she sat alone in her dark office and cried. The Valori could not have children anymore. Their bodies had stopped working properly thousands of years ago. They had been dying slowly ever since. But they had found a way to survive. They called it grafting. Grafting was simple and horrible. The Valori took genetic material from the young of other species. They absorbed it into their own bodies. This kept them alive and let them create new Valori. But there was a problem. The process only worked on children who had not yet grown up. And the children had to be alive when it happened. The children did not survive. Hana read the file again and again, hoping she had made a mistake. But there was no mistake. The Valori had been studying human children for 3 years. Every child in their databases had been given a number. The number showed how useful they would be for grafting. Her own research had helped them. Every scan she had done, every sample she had taken, had been used to plan the harvest. Hana picked up her communicator with shaking hands. She called Admiral Park Do-yeon on a secret channel that no one else could hear. They had been planning this from the start, she whispered. The gifts, the technology, the friendship. It was all to make us trust them. They want our children, Do-yeon. They want to eat our children. Far away, on Station Harmony 7, Kang Tae-ho was working late. He was checking the air systems in a part of the station that was supposed to be empty. The Valori had sealed it off months ago, saying they needed it for storage. But Tae-ho had heard sounds coming from behind the walls. Strange sounds, machinery, and something that sounded like singing. He should have walked away. He should have told someone and waited. But Tae-ho was not that kind of man. He needed to know. He found a maintenance panel and cut through it with his tools. The metal fell away, and he crawled through the hole into darkness. The singing was louder now. It was not a happy song. It was slow and sad, like something dying. Tae-ho turned on his light and saw a long hallway. The walls were covered with pods made of crystal. Each pod was filled with glowing blue liquid. And inside each pod was a child. Taiho stopped breathing. His light moved from pod to pod. He counted 12 children. Human children. Their eyes were closed, and tubes ran into their arms and chests. They were alive, but barely. Their bodies were being taken apart piece by piece. He recognized one of them. A boy named Ji Woo, who had been in his daughter's class. The boy had disappeared 2 weeks ago. The Valori said his family had moved to another station. Taiho fell to his knees. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out. He wanted to save them, but he did not know how. He could only kneel there in the dark, looking at what the Valori had done, understanding at last what they really wanted. They did not want friends. They did not want siblings. They wanted food. Taiho crawled back through the hole. He sealed the panel behind him. Then he ran to find his wife. Eunji was in their apartment, putting Somi to bed. When she saw Taiho's face, she knew something terrible had happened. He told her everything in a voice that barely worked. He told her about the pods. He told her about Jiwoo. He told her what the Valori were doing to human children. Eunji held their daughter tight. Somi did not understand what was happening, but she knew her parents were scared. She had never seen them scared before. What do we do? Yoonji asked. Tae-ho looked out the window at the stars. The same stars that had seemed so beautiful when the Valori arrived. Now, they looked cold and empty. We fight, he said. We warn everyone. We protect our children. And we make them pay for what they have done. Somewhere in the station, Lirith, Somi's best friend, was telling her own parents about the human girl she played with every day. She was telling them how healthy Somi was, how strong her genes were, how perfect she would be for grafting. The Valori parents listened and smiled, and made notes in their database. The harvest was coming soon, and the humans did not know that they had already run out of time. The Galactic Council met in a station that floated in empty space between the stars. 17 alien species sent their leaders to this place. They came to discuss laws, trade, and the future of the galaxy. Humans had only joined the council 1 year ago. They were the newest members and the least powerful. Today, the Valori had called a special meeting. They said it was important. They said it would change everything. Admiral Park Do-hyun stood in the human section of the Great Chamber. He wore his best uniform, but it felt heavy on his shoulders. Beside him stood Representative Shin Boyang, the woman who spoke for Earth in the council. She was smart and strong and had worked her whole life to reach this position. But today, her face was pale. They both knew what was coming. Dr. Hannah had warned them. Kan Taiho had sent them proof. The humans had spent 3 days preparing for this moment, but nothing could really prepare them for what they were about to hear. Ambassador Tessith walked to the center of the chamber. The same Tessith who had cried tears of joy when meeting humans for the first time. The same Tessith who had called them siblings and family. But there were no tears now. There was no warmth in those large alien eyes. I speak today about humanity, Tessith said. The voice was calm and cold. As you all know, the Valori seeded many worlds with life millions of years ago. We planted the seeds. We watched them grow. And when they reach maturity, we harvest them. This is our right. This is our law. Dahyun felt his hands form into fists. Beside him, Boyang grabbed his arm to hold him still. Humanity has reached technological maturity, Tessith continued. They have joined the stars. They have become a spacefaring species. The waiting period is complete. We now invoke the ancestral rights doctrine and claim what has always belonged to us. Boyang stepped forward. Her voice was strong, but Do-hyun could hear the fear beneath it. What exactly are you claiming? She asked. Tessith, turned to look at her. Your children. The young ones who carry the genetic markers we need. We will begin harvesting them in 1 solar year. The chamber was silent. Do-hyun looked around at the other species. Some looked uncomfortable. Some looked bored. None looked surprised. They all knew. They had always known. A delegate from a species called the Morith spoke up. They were short beings with skin like gray stone and eyes like black glass. The doctrine is clear, the Morith said. Seeded species may be harvested once they reach maturity. This has been the law for longer than any of us can remember. The Valari are within their rights. Rights? Boyoung's voice cracked. You are talking about murdering children. We are talking about a renewable resource, the Morith replied. The Valari will not take all of them. They will take only a percentage each breeding cycle. Your species will survive. Most of you will never be directly affected. You should be grateful for their restraint. Do-hyun could not stay silent any longer. He stepped forward, past Boyoung, into the center of the chamber. Every alien eye turned to look at him. You are asking us to accept the death of our children, he said. His voice was quiet, but it filled the room. You are asking us to give them up like animals. Like crops. Like things instead of people. Tessith tilted their head. The gesture looked almost human, and that made it worse. We are not asking, Tessith said. We are telling. The harvest will begin in 1 year. You may cooperate and make it painless, or you may resist and make it painful. The choice is yours. The outcome will be the same, and if we fight? Tessith smiled. It was not a kind smile. Then we will take all of them. Every human child in the galaxy. We have done this before, Admiral. Many times. Younger species always resist at first. They always fail. You have 400 ships. We have 3,000. Your technology came from us. Do you really think you can use our own weapons against us? Do-hyun looked at Tessith for a long moment. Then he looked around the chamber at all the other species. The ones who had known what the Valori did. The ones who had welcomed humanity into their community while knowing they were being raised for slaughter. 1 year, Do-hyun said slowly. You are giving us 1 year to prepare. To accept, Tessith corrected. To prepare your children. To say goodbye. Do-hyun nodded. His face showed nothing. His eyes showed nothing. But inside, something was changing. Something was growing. Something old and fierce that humans had carried inside them since they first stood up on the plains of Africa and refused to die. Thank you for telling us, Do-hyun said. We will use the time well. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Boyoung followed him. The other species watched them go with expressions of pity and amusement. They had seen this before. The anger, the denial, the futile resistance. It always ended the same way, but they had never seen humans before, and they did not understand what they had just awakened Dad in the shuttle flying back to Earth. Do-hyun sat in silence. Boyoung sat across from him, her face in her hands. What do we do? She whispered. They are too strong. We cannot win. Do-hyun looked out the window at the stars. The same stars that had seemed full of promise just 3 years ago. Now they looked like the eyes of predators, watching and waiting. We have 1 year, he said. We will not use it to prepare our children for death. We will use it to prepare ourselves for war. We will lose. Do-hyun turned to look at her. There was something in his eyes that she had never seen before. Something dangerous. Maybe, he said. But we will make them pay for every child they try to take. We will make them remember our faces. And we will show every species in this galaxy what happens when you threaten human children. He paused. They called us siblings. Then they declared our children prey. Now they will learn why humans were never meant to be hunted. The shuttle flew on through the darkness toward home. The war had already begun. 1 year was not a long time, but humans had always been good at doing impossible things when their children were in danger. Admiral Park. Do-hyun worked every day without rest. He turned every human ship into a weapon. He turned every station into a fortress. He trained farmers to be soldiers and teachers to be fighters. He took a species that had known peace for 3 years and reminded them what they were. Capable of Dot Station Harmony 7 became Station Defiance. The name was Do-hyun's idea. He moved his command center there because it was where the Valori had first started taking children. He wanted to fight from the place where the horror had begun. Kang Tai-ho led the engineering teams. He worked day and night building something he called the Cradle. It was a network of hidden bunkers spread across 100 different worlds. Each bunker could hold thousands of children. Each one was buried deep underground, protected by doors so thick that nothing could break through them. If we lose the war, Tai-ho told his teams, the children survive. That is all that matters. Everything else is just details. Dr. Yoon Hana led the science teams. She studied Valori biology, looking for weaknesses. And she found one. The Valori had been grafting for thousands of years. Their bodies depended on stolen genetic material to survive. This had made them powerful, but it had also made them weak. Their own immune systems had stopped working properly. Diseases that humans could fight off easily were deadly to them. Hana created a weapon. It was a modified flu virus, designed to target Valori biology. It would spread through their ships and stations like fire. It would kill them by the thousands. She did not like what she had made. She was a doctor. She had spent her life saving people, not killing them. But then she thought about the children in the pods. She thought about Ji-woo, who had been taken apart piece by piece while still alive. And she decided that some things were more important than her conscience. Kang Yoonji trained with the other civilians. She learned to shoot. She learned to fight with her hands. She learned where to hit a Valori to make it stop moving. She had been a gentle woman before. She had believed in kindness and understanding. Now she believed in keeping her daughter safe, no matter what it cost. Little Somi watched her parents change. She did not understand everything that was happening, but she understood enough. She knew that the Valori, who she had thought were friends, wanted to hurt her. She knew that her friend Lirith had been lying to her all along. One day, Yoonji found Somi in her room with a small knife. The girl was practicing with it, stabbing at a pillow. "What are you doing?" Yoonji asked. Somi looked up at her mother. Her eyes were hard in a way that no 7-year-old's eyes should be. "Learning," Somi said, "so I can help fight." Yoonji wanted to cry. She wanted to take her daughter somewhere safe, somewhere far from war and death and monsters wearing friendly faces. But there was nowhere safe. Not anymore. Instead, she sat down next to Somi and taught her how to hold the knife properly. With 3 months left before the harvest, Do-hyun made a decision. He recorded a message and broadcast it across every human channel. Billions of people watched him speak. "You all know what is coming," he said. "The Valori want our children. They want to take them and use them and kill them. And the galaxy says this is their right." He paused. "I say no. I say our children belong to us. I say we fight. I say we show every species in this universe what happens when you try to take something from humanity. We may lose. They have more ships. They have better weapons. They have done this before. But we have something they do not have. We have parents who will die before they let their children be taken. We have rage that has been building since we found out the truth. We have nothing left to lose. So this is my message to you. If you want to fight, come. If you want to hide, we will protect you. But if you want to surrender, if you want to give up our children to save yourselves, then you are no longer human." and you are no longer welcome among us." The response was overwhelming. Millions of people volunteered to fight. Factories worked around the clock building weapons. Children recorded messages of their own, telling the Valori they were not afraid. Sami's message was broadcast more than any other. She stood in front of a camera with her small knife in her hand and her eyes full of fire. "My friend Lirith told me what her people wanted to do," Sami said. "She said I should be honored. She said it would not hurt for long." The girl paused. "I told her my daddy builds things that protect people. My mommy teaches people to be brave. My people do not let monsters take their children." She lifted her chin. "We are not afraid of you." The message spread across the galaxy. Other species saw it and did not know what to make of it. They had never seen a prey species that refused to act like prey. They had never seen children who looked at death and did not run. When the Valori fleet finally came, 3,000 crystal ships against 400 human vessels. They expected to find a broken people ready to surrender. Instead, they found every human ship broadcasting the same message. "You called us siblings. Then you called our children prey. Now learn what we call you." The word that followed was not polite, but it was accurate. The war had begun, and the Valori were about to learn that they had made the worst mistake in the history of their species. They had threatened human children. Now they would pay. The war lasted 9 days. 9 days of fire and blood and rage. 9 days that changed the galaxy forever. The Valori came with 3,000 ships. They were confident. They had done this many times before. Younger species always fought at first. They always lost. The Valori expected the same from humanity. They were wrong. On the first day, human ships attacked with no fear of death. When their weapons ran out, they rammed their ships into the enemy. Pilots ejected into Valori vessels with nothing but guns and hatred. They died by the hundreds, but they took thousands of Valori with them. Admiral Park Do-yoon commanded from his ship, the Unyielding. He watched his people throw themselves at the enemy like wolves attacking a bear. They should have been slaughtered. They should have been destroyed. Instead, they kept fighting. On the third day, the Valori fleet reached Station Defiance. They broke through the outer defenses and sent soldiers into the station. They thought they would find children hiding in fear. Kang Taiho was waiting for them. When 200 Valori soldiers entered the outer ring, Taiho sealed the doors behind them. Then he opened every airlock. The air rushed out into space, taking the soldiers with it. They died screaming, their glowing skin turning dark as the cold took them. Taiho stood at a window and watched them float away. His hands were burned from sealing the doors manually. He did not care. He thought about the children in the pods. He thought about Jiwoo. "That was for the ones you took," he said quietly. "The rest is interest." On the fifth day, a Valori strike team broke into the school where Kang Yoonji had gathered 40 children. The aliens thought they would find easy prey. Yoonji met them with a fire axe. She killed the first one before it could react. She killed the second one as it reached for her. She killed 9 of them in the narrow hallway, screaming with a voice that did not sound human. Covered in glowing blue blood that burned her skin like acid, Somi crouched behind her mother the whole time, holding her small knife. The girl did not cry. She did not run. She watched her mother become something terrible and wonderful. And she understood that this was what love looked like when it had teeth. When human soldiers finally arrived, they found Yoonji standing over the bodies of her enemies. She was badly hurt. Her arms were burned. Her face was cut. But she was alive, and so were all 40 children. On the 7th day, Dr. Yoon Hana released her weapon. The virus spread through the Valori fleet like fire through dry wood. It moved through their air systems, their water, their food. Within hours, Valori started dying. Their perfect, grafted bodies had no defense against this simple human sickness. Ships went dark as crews collapsed. Soldiers dropped their weapons and fell to the ground, choking on fluids their stolen lungs could not process. The virus did not care how old they were or how important. It killed them all the same. Hana watched the reports come in from her lab. She did not celebrate. She just sat alone in the dark, thinking about what she had done. She had killed thousands, maybe millions. She was a murderer now, the worst mass killer in human history. But she thought about the children, and she decided she could live with that. On the 9th day, Admiral Park Do-hyun led the final attack. The unyielding broke through the last of the Valori defenses and entered orbit around their homeworld. Below, billions of Valori looked up at the human ships in their sky. They had never seen an enemy reach this far. They had never known fear like this. Do-hyun broadcast his message to every screen on the planet. "We could destroy your world," he said. His voice was calm. His face showed nothing. "We have the weapons. We have the will. Your council will not save you. Your technology will not save you. Nothing will save you." He paused. "But we are not you. We do not murder children. Even the children of monsters deserve to live. So, here is what happens now. You will return every human you have taken. You will destroy every facility where you keep your victims. You will tell every species in the galaxy what you tried to do and what happened when you tried it. And then you will never contact humanity again. Never. If we see one Valori ship near human space, we will come back and finish what we started." Ambassador Tessith appeared on screen. The alien who had wept with joy when meeting humans now looked old and broken. The virus had not killed Tessith, but it had taken something. The glow was gone from that silver skin. The strength was gone from those strange eyes. "And if we refuse?" Tessith asked. Do-hyun smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Then we come back, and we bring our children with us, so they can watch." The Valori did not refuse. Within a week, human prisoners started coming home. Some of them were damaged in ways that could never be fixed. Some of them did not come home at all. But the harvest was over. The Valori would never take another human child. The Galactic Council dissolved within a year. 17 species had watched humanity tear apart the oldest and most powerful of their members. None of them wanted to be next. New alliances formed, built on respect instead of fear, on trade instead of predation. Humanity expanded carefully, always watching, always ready. They built guardian stations around every world where their children lived. Each station carried the same words carved into its hull: "Never again." On a colony world called New Dawn, Kang Eunji went back to teaching. Her classroom was built next to a memorial wall bearing the names of every child who had not been saved. Her daughter Selmi, now 16, visited the wall often. She talked to the names. She promised them that she would join the fleet and make sure nothing like this ever happened again. Dr. Yoon Hana led a new council that protected young species from predators. She made sure that no one would ever face what humanity had faced. Her first act was to find every species that had been seeded and warn them. Many of them joined humanity's alliance. They called themselves the Children of the Stars. Admiral Park Do-hyun retired to a small house on Earth. He grew vegetables and refused to give interviews. He kept one thing from the war: a crystal shard from a Valori ship mounted on his wall. Under it, he had written a note by hand. They called us siblings. They declared our children prey. They learned what we become when you threaten what we love. And Kang Tai-ho, with his scarred hands and quiet eyes, kept building. He built stations and shelters and defenses. He built a future where human children could grow up without fear. On every structure he made, He put the same symbol, a child's handprint, surrounded by stars. The galaxy had called humans a young species. They had called them weak. They had called them prey. Now the galaxy knew better. Now, the galaxy knew that some prey had claws, and some parents would burn the universe to keep their children safe.